members of the S&D Group. It's a pleasure to have you here, and sorry that we had to change the times, but as it is an exciting day, that happens. So here we are, Iratxe García Perez, our group president, has the floor. And then, of course, it's time for your questions in the room and online. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for being present. As my colleague just said, we had to change the time, but things are complicated at the moment, and I'm very grateful that you are showing such flexibility. Of course, we are in a very important week, and a week which is difficult for our political group. Maybe you were present at the commemoration for our president, and the legacy that David Sassoli has left to the parliament is immense. His values, European values, which were represented in him. So we've started the work. He did start the work. He did start the negotiations, but he couldn't carry on. But we will certainly carry on working like we did in the past. So yesterday, the Socialist and Democratic Group decided to reach an agreement with the majority groups of the EPP and with Renew Europe to provide the necessary stability to this institution and to bring forward a political program with a certain number of priorities, and which we've discussed in our internal meetings. We know who is responsible for what, but what is important to our citizens is that we should actually implement the political agreements we reached. Now, we've come to one yesterday. We are a pro-European political force. Of course, we have different ideological positions, but we're going to fight for the rule of law, for a social Europe. We want a green Europe as well. And we know what the priorities are in that field. Also, we would like to defend the social dimension and the rights of women. I think we need to emphasize that we should agree on these ideas. And the SD group has given its support to Roberta Metsola, and we also want to have 5 vice presidents in the bureau. We have to wait for the results of the vote, but we hope that it will be a very diverse one. Then there will be the President's conference, and we're going to have a special committee created on COVID. And this is connected also to how Europe has confronted itself with this pandemic. So we really hope that we will be able to move forward on all these initiatives. Now, the French presidency has started. Tomorrow we're going to have President Macron in the chamber. And I would like to say that the political compromise between the 3 groups is very important. how to get women on board, the directive on the gender violence or violence against women. And we're going to ask the President Macron to show what his commitments are on all this. There were other fundamental debates as the fiscal tax, digitalization, which we need to have permanent instruments in the future. So we want to create a greater stability for this institution, give it more certainty, because people is what they want. That's what they want, certainty after 2 years of pandemic. Obviously, we are fully aware of what the majority is in this chamber, and we're going to miss terribly David Sassoli, our beloved president. But what is going to happen is that there will be cooperation. We will be critical when there is a need to be. This is not a blank check. It's just an agreement, a cooperation agreement. And we do hope that the votes we're going to have today and tomorrow, that the other groups are going to vote for the vice presidents. Thank you.
Are there any questions in the room? Yes, I go from the left, please.
Bonjour, Jean Comte de...
A question in French. Today's vote, this was supported by ECC, EPP, SD and ECR, but not the Greens. Does this mean that the EP is becoming more to the right? And for you, is it important for the Greens to have 2 vice presidents?
Thank you for that question. The agreement that we have reached covers the EPP, and Renew, S&D and Renew. We haven't negotiated with others. Maybe there were bilateral negotiations amongst other groups, but I'm responsible for what my group negotiates. I'm not responsible for other groups and what they are doing. So we wanted to have this candidate as president. I would like to emphasize that the S&D group has negotiated with Renew and the EPP and not with the ECR. With regard to our support, our position is very clear on that. We're going to fulfill the agreement and vote in favor of EPP and Renew vice presidents. And we will also give our support to the 2 candidates from the Greens. That's our position. Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sí, hola, muchas gracias.
Thank you. Andrés Gil from Punto Este. To link up with what was said, our colleague, don't you feel uneasy that about what, for example, about Vox did? And now, this morning, neither the Council nor the Commission are in the hands of the Socialist Party. So the cards have... What happened with Solana? We have political responsibilities. Personally, I would accept, or I would be happy if the situation were different. But we know what the numerical majorities are in this chamber, and whether the left wing can get a majority. This is not the case. We would like that, but it's not the case. So if we want to have a majority, we need to broaden the scene. It would have been good to have a presidency from our political group, but there is something very important in politics, is responsibility. This parliament is greatly fragmented ideologically and politically, and we have to show our sense of responsibility and do what is good for the institution. And the SD group wanted to create stability in the chamber. And we will see what happens as from now. Now, as I said, our vote is not a blank check. We will cooperate, but we will be also very demanding. And the debates and the decisions that will take place will have to be defended, whether we agree or we don't with that. I cannot ask that other people should change their ideological position. We have to work with what we have in this parliament. But what I can do is that the structures are respected that oversees this parliament, and namely that we have to defend the majority. So everybody is free to believe if this was a good or bad negotiation. But at times, you can have victory at one moment, but you have to manage on a day-to-day basis. What is important this week is to make sure that we can work for an institution that for the next 2.5 years has to work on many important issues. And we have to confirm things. But we're not going to change our ideological position. Unfortunately, we didn't win the European elections, but my objective is to work this next 2.5 years so that at the next elections we will be in a position to have a greater majority than we've been able to do so far. My first question, you were not, would you vote for a candidate that was voted by ECR and Vox? I mean, I can't prevent Vox to vote as I vote. I'm not going to ask them who they voted for. What is important to me is what is the consequence of the vote that I cast. If my vote can ensure greater stability for this institution and work in favor of the priorities we have set, fine. But I'm responsible for my decisions. I can't be responsible for the decisions taken by others. Thank you.
That was clear. Are there further questions from anybody in the room? I don't think that is the case. Then I would like to thank you all and also those online. Merci. Muchas gracias.